Welcome. My name is Vanessa Gershbein, and I work here at TapResearch. And today I'm going to show you how to use our do-it-yourself platform. So first, you need to go to TapResearch.com. If you already have an account, you can select Sign In, and if you don't, you can create an account. To create an account, all you need is your name, your email, and a password. Make sure you select that you're a researcher. You can input your company name, but if you already have people from your company who are signed up, we will assign you to the correct account based off of your email's domain. Once you register, you'll come to the dashboard where you can create your first project. So let's get started. To create your first project, you're going to want to name your project something unique. So today we're going to do a survey on cats. Here is where you can also choose the country in which your project will be fielded in. We have a multitude of countries. We also have different language options. So for United States, for example, we have both English and Spanish. If you have a project that's multi-country, you're going to have to create a project for each country. That's because we have the selector for location at the beginning of the survey. Once you create the project, you'll be brought into the builder. The builder is made out of 5 main components: respondent targeting, survey details, URL, pre-screening questions, limiting and exclusions. You'll get a 6th if you have other people working in your company, which is called users. This is where you can add other users to your project. So let's start by explaining respondent targeting. Respondent targeting is where you define your audience. It's where you can build different quotas or targeting groups based off the attributes you want. So for example, I want to target females 18 to 35 who own cats. Now this is just where I'm naming it, and I want 100 responses. That's where I put in the quantity, and this is where I build it. So I'd put 18 to 35, I would choose the gender, and then I would choose the pet ownership as cats. So here I have a quota that's 100, saying I want 100 responses from females 18 to 35 who own cats. There are 2 ways to add another targeting group. You can select Add Target Group, or you can clone it. I'm going to clone it, and I'm going to make another group, but just change one attribute, which is gender, to male. Now I have 2 groups, one female, one male, targeting 100 respondents who are 18 to 35 who own cats. We also have a nifty function called capping. Here you can see that option right here. So let's say you wanted to cap the number of responses based off a different attribute, like race, for example. If I wanted to cap responses from people who have their ethnicity listed as white, I could cap it and apply it to both of these groups using that cap function. So by capping this, I'm saying out of these 200 responses of male and female cat owners, only 100 of them can come from respondents who list their ethnicity or race as white. After you've built out those targeting groups, you can look at the advanced functions. The advanced functions let you look at what device you're targeting. If you exclude mobile, this will have a huge impact on feasibility, as we're a mobile-heavy panel. You can also look at more advanced functionality, such as recontacting and targeting maids. We have more information on this in our Help Center. After this, you can go on to survey details. Now, let's jump into survey details. Survey detail is where you indicate the length, incidence, and days in field of the project. So let's say the length is 5 minutes. The incidence is 80%. That means after targeting, I expect 80% of the respondents to be able to enter the survey. Let's say I have no disqualifying questions after targeting. That means incidence will be 100%. And let's say I have a lot of disqualifying questions that are very narrow. your incidence could be something more like 5%. After that, you will insert a price, and feasibility will be calculated. Feasibility is based off of the length, incidence, days in field, and price. So if you're not seeing the feasibility you want, I suggest playing with days in field and price because in order to see how feasibility is changed. Now you can see that the cap somehow was not inserted. So once you cap a respondent group, you can see their feasibility disappears. So here I'm going to uncap, and you see that quota comes back, and once I cap it, it's being embedded into the other targeting and will not have its own feasibility because I'm saying of the 200 responses, only 100 of them can be of white descent. So here you can see from putting in the survey details, you can see feasibility and the price. Next, you're going to want to ensure that you have redirects and your URL in place. So here is where you insert your URL and where you can receive your redirects. Redirects are what you use within your survey platform to make sure that after a respondent either disqualifies or completes, they are correctly redirected into our system. These redirects are company-wide. Therefore, you don't have to change it every time. You can use these throughout every project you use because they will be the same. It's all dependent on the company profile. Next, you're going to want to insert your URL. As you can see, my URL is coming from SurveyMonkey because that's where I've built my survey. I have created a custom variable within my survey platform that allows me to append an ID to the end of the URL. This ID is called the transaction ID. It's how we know who an individual respondent is. We need this ID to be appended in order for reconciliation purposes and also in order to match demographic information to respondents. You can do this based on their ID. You can append other features to the URL, such as age, gender, and zip code, if you would like. So after you insert your redirects and append that ID, you're ready to test. So to test, you just gotta click this button that says test. You'll see this test link pop up. This is a link that will automatically give you a fake transaction ID. So as you can see, I'm being taken to the survey platform in which I created the survey. I see that fake transaction ID appended to the URL and my survey. My survey is short. It just asks if you own a cat. And I'm going to say yes, and this means I should see the complete redirect. When you see campaign test result equals complete, you know that your test was successful. You can also see the results of your test to make sure they were successful here. Here you can see that transaction ID and the status as complete. If your redirect did not work, you're going to see the status saying incomplete. That means that we never saw the respondent theoretically back in our system. You need to have at least a complete or term test in order to launch your project. So after you've tested your survey, you can add pre-screening questions. We say to be slightly on the cautious side with pre-screening questions as it can slow down your project. Only do it when you have a very low IR project or specific question. If you see problems arise in any aspect of your testing or launching a project, feel free to jump into our help center, which can be accessed here, as well as message us directly. By messaging us, you'll jump straight into my inbox or my colleagues Joe Beth's, who can give you guidance. You can use this ID right here. In the URL is the campaign ID. You can also see this back in our dashboard. You give us this campaign ID and we'll be able to jump in and look in the back end on what is happening. Next section within our builder is limits and exclusions. This is where you can set up daily caps, soft launches, or exclusions to the campaign. Daily caps is a full 24-hour throttling responses into your survey. So let's say I wanted 15 responses daily. This would mean that 15 responses would trickle in throughout the day. If you're looking for a quick soft launch to ensure that everything in your survey is going well, we suggest soft launch. This will cap the amount of respondents. So let's say I had 15, it would immediately let those 15 responses go in. The moment we have 15 completes, it will pause. You can also exclude campaigns. So let's say I had multiple campaigns going and I didn't want them to all have the same respondents coming in. You can exclude campaigns by using those different campaign IDs here. So now that I've tested the survey, put in targeting, gave in details, and ensured that I didn't have any limits and exclusions, I can check out and launch the survey. For purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to just jump back into our dashboard. Now we're back in the dashboard. You can see the projects we've created here. Right now we only have one because we've only created one project. You can see the campaign ID, the name, when it was created, the status. It's still in draft since we didn't launch it. And we have different actions we can take on this project. We can clone it, we can edit it, or we can jump into details. Let's first jump into details. Within the details, you can see the quotas that have been built and the remaining that are still left. So since we've never launched it, we still have all of the quotas remaining. You can also see how many people have entered. You can see the details within the survey, that it's on all devices, it's created, it's updated, and it has the URL in. You can also download those demographic information, which you can match to the responses within your survey with those transaction IDs. If you get tired of a project in your dashboard, you can archive it here. You can also clone it. I'm going to show you what happens when you clone a project. So let's clone this project, and let's say I wanted to make it in Canada. You can see that the previous campaign was already excluded, that the both demographics that we already built are already in there. And you can see that the URL is in place. This is an example of what it looks like when you clone a project to another country. I do suggest double checking. Certain countries have certain targeting that is slightly different than another. If I wanted to archive this project and get it out of my dashboard, I would just come here and archive. If you have other people on your account, you'll be able to look at their projects totaling a function that would pop up here. If you want to start another project from scratch, you press Start New Project. And that's it today. We've walked you through our do-it-yourself platform. If you ever have any trouble, please reach out to us via the intercom, or you can email us directly at projectmanagement@tapresearch.com, or you can come here and click the Contact Us and submit a report. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and we look forward to getting started.